Support for the Trailblazers.fm podcast comes from the Campaign for Black Male Achievement, a national membership network of more than 5,000 members all across the country working to improve the life outcomes of our Black men and boys. I'm so excited to share that on Thursday, October 18th, CBMA will be celebrating their 10th year anniversary and commemorate a decade of growth and impact for the Black Male Achievement movement. Now, this gala is going to be honoring Tanya Allen of the Skillman Foundation, one of our past guests, John Rogers Jr., the CEO of Errol Investments, and George Soros, founder of the Open Society Foundations. To learn more about purchasing tickets to the gala, or if you'd like to become a sponsor for the event, please visit blackmaleachievement.org, or you can shoot me an email, steven@tbpod.com.
You're listening to the Trailblazers podcast, where we will explore the stories of successful Black professionals. Join us as we highlight the knowledge, resources, and tools of these accomplished trailblazers to help provide the know-how, confidence, and motivation you need to blaze your trail. And now, here's your host, Stephen Hart.
Blazer Nation, what up? Wagwan. How are things? Listen up. I'm going to start this episode. First off, if you have not listened to last week's episode, I want you to pause this episode, go back and listen to episode 131. Last week's episode, I talked about how to develop your personal branding blueprint. And it's a really good episode to help you lay foundation if you are having trouble with laying framework to your personal brand. This week, we're going to talk a little bit about you. And so I'm going to open things up today and I'm going to ask a question. Who are you? Like, really, who are you? So, dope and deep question to get things kicked off, right? But here's the thing. Last Saturday, I had the pleasure of meeting one of our past guests of episode 90, Nicole Walters. Met her in person for the very first time at an event that she was hosting here in Maryland. And Nicole is an amazing business coach, international speaker, entrepreneur, 1,000 other hats and titles that she has, but happened to be a new client of hers in one of her business development programs called 1K One Day. And here's the thing, Nicole is someone who lets you know who she is, right? If you begin to connect with her and you follow her across social media, first off, you're going to come across her buzzworthy connection story. She quit her job in front of 10,000 people on Periscope. But if you get past that, get beyond that, you're going to begin to know, like, and trust this young, amazing Black woman who's married to a guy she calls the Hubbin. And her and the Hubbin have adopted 3 beautiful girls that she calls her Tinies. And so you begin to connect to Nicole's story. She's diehard, without apology, a woman of faith. She'll let you know about her relationship with God across social media, within her business. She does not deviate from that, right? She's clear that she's the kind of speaker that can get on any stage and slay, right? In fact, she travels the world speaking on some of the biggest stages. And over the past couple of years, right, she's built an empire training and teaching others how to build the type of businesses that they love, right? It's not unusual that I'll see her post on Instagram about being in Jamaica or Mexico. And then, almost in the very next Instagram story, she's back at home being a supermom. And what's awesome here is that I'm dialed in. I'm connected to Nicole. I share the connection of being an entrepreneur, a parent, a believer. And that's just a few of the things, right? These are the things that I often think of when I think of Nicole. And that's just over the past year and a half of me really having a connection to her through her social media, through her website, through her emails. I'm on her mailing list. And now I'm a client of Nicole's. Now, what Nicole has also shown me is that she's really all about helping people. And I've seen that for months online, but I got a close-up chance last week to see if the two align, right? If this was the exact same person in person as I see online. And guess what? She was all that and then some. In fact, Nicole shared some many gems. She did like a business Q&A at her event. And one of them that stood out most to me was her saying that there's real life and there's real life. So There's real life, REAL, and there's real life, REEL. And what Nicole was emphasizing in that statement is that we can put out the video reels and the social media posts that appease to your online audience, right? But they're fake. They're not a true reflection of ourselves. Or we can choose to do something different. We can share what's really happening, what's totally authentic, even if it's messy, even if it's not polished. But the bottom line here, right, is that before anyone is buying a product or a service from Nicole, they are developing a connection to her, right? They're buying Nicole before they buy the product or service. So as we follow up on last week's conversation about building your personal brand blueprint, I thought it was vital to begin explaining who you are. Of course, we're in this fast food culture and no one has time for you making this all about you, but you're going to need to share your story. You can do so organically and over time, and you can invite people in to know more about you. They can begin to know you. They can begin to connect to you. And hopefully you're a nice guy or a nice girl, right? That allows them to begin to like you. And if they like you, hopefully they begin to trust you. So again, I'm going to ask you, who are you? Like really, who are you? Are you telling the world your story? As I prepared this week for this episode, I began to realize that if you're one of my hardcore listeners, right? If you've heard even half of the 130 plus episodes now that we've published, you'll pretty much have heard enough of my own story, my journey. You know about Kristen, my wife, you know about our kids. In fact, I had all three of them in some measure on episode 100. So if you haven't heard that episode, you can go back and check that out. I shared parts of my Valley story in our 1 year anniversary episode. I believe that was episode 58, as well as probably one of my most fun conversations with Patrice Washington on episode 106. I kind of dived into my story again. And throughout the past 2+ years, you've heard me share my highs and lows. By now, you know that I value my faith walk. I value being a good father. I value being a good husband. It's a reason, that I believe that many of you have continued to listen. You're now on this journey with me, so to say, right? And I see the same on my personal Instagram. And so you'll see me do the exact same thing on my personal Instagram. My posts there are authentic experiences on my journey as a husband, as a father, as a brother, as a businessman, as a believer. I don't force any of these posts down your throat, but it's just authentic. It's just organic. It's my experiences and my journey in real time. And so here's an assignment for you. I want you guys to grab your pad and pen or open up an Evernote. I haven't spoken about Evernote in a while. I had to take a break. Too many of you were telling me I need to get sponsored by Evernote, how much I was talking about them. But I want you guys to begin right now. I want you to write down the 5 things that you value and love most in your life. So for me, that looks like my family, my faith walk, this podcast, and all the listeners and guests that I've connected to. This looks like my love for branding and marketing and my mission to help brand 1 million people. And it also looks like my friendships and experiences I have traveling the world and developing friendships along this path. I want you to take notice to something. I mentioned 5 things and money wasn't on that list. And money is important because it allows you and I the freedom to spend more of our time enjoying and doing some of the things on the list. But it's not my love, right? And it's not the thing I value that comes in front of any of those things. So I want you to work through your top 5. Once you've got your top 5 written down, begin to explore ways to begin sharing your journey and experiences through those things. So that might look like an Instagram or a Facebook story where maybe you share a morning devotional that you're reading or a book that you're reading, or it might be a social media post or video about some awesome moment you experienced. Listen up, it can be messy. It can be imperfect. Don't think you've got to only share the highlights, right? Some of the most sincere videos, the most sincere posts create the greatest connections. So be real, be raw. with a caution there, right? But you get my point. These posts are what invite your following into your world. So give thought to that. For the past few minutes, we've been talking about who you are and how you can and should begin to open up and let other people know about you. And as you begin to do this, keep in mind that the core elements that we talked about from our last episode, in episode 131, if you're putting up image posts, right? If you're creating like a quote post, right? Try to hop into a tool like canva.com. And if you've taken the time to define your couple of those core elements we discussed with your color and your fonts, well, you can create that quote post graphic, that imagery in Canva using your brand's colors and fonts. And what's going to begin to happen is you begin to share your authentic you, right? Because you're sharing your story, your journey. But at the same time, you're beginning to slowly and steadily look more polished in the process and insert your brand elements in, right? So again, I've said this before, your online presence has to rock. There's no exception to that. If you want to be perceived as somebody who's authentic, somebody who's a go-to expert or a thought leader, if at some point that's important to you, your online presence has to stand out, whether that be your website or your social media, right? But these are some of the things that need to begin happening, right? So I hope that helps. I hope that also deters the hard selling, and pitching and the heavy focus on your product and service. I want you to insert some of you in your content creation, in the things that you decide to put out and share with the world. It's going to create and attract people to you in a way you've never seen before. So listen, I hope you guys are liking this, and I hope you want me to keep going, because at this point I want to pivot and I want to begin talking about who you're serving. So we talked about who you are, Now I want to talk about who you are serving. And so way back when, I used to think of branding like many of you probably still do. I thought of my brand design and my logo and my business cards, right? Like I've actually started a couple of businesses back 10, 12 years ago with that in mind for my branding. That's just the raw truth, right? Here's what I learned. Those businesses, one, they lacked the MVPs we talked about. That was a lesson taught through hard knock experiences, right? I didn't put the energy in up front to be very clear about what that mission and that vision was for those businesses. So that's why we spoke about this last week. And that's why, you have to have that clarity, especially on who you want to serve. So here's our next assignment. Again, grab the pad and the pen or open up the Evernote. I want you to begin to document your ideal client profile, or what many of us marketers like to call an avatar. And no, I'm not talking about the movie. So the thing here for many of you as entrepreneurs who maybe know about developing avatars, most of you have had conversations with you and you still think of a single avatar being sufficient. And so you create this single person that you're serving your product or service to. But in truth, your customer base, as well as the customer base of any successful business, has variety. So look, we're looking to isolate common challenges and needs and opportunities from many different people, but that doesn't mean that all our customers are the same. So take, for example, with Trailblazers, on a weekly basis, it's pretty customary that I'll have, whether it be WhatsApp conversations or iMessage or social DM chats on a regular basis with people who I know listen to the podcast fairly regularly, right? If not every single week. I'll get messages from Andre and Jameson and Richie and Annette and Sean and Tiff South and Minda and several others of you who listen on a routine basis and will share with me your experiences while you're listening. And I love it. If you guys want to engage with me, you can do so on any platform that works for you. I love to get the feedback. I love to hear what you like and what you don't. It gives me fuel for continuing to improve on the process. But you're also letting me know things that I need to know about you. So I know that both Andre and Richie are diehard listeners, right? They're super fans of what I've created. Both men are Caribbean men. They're in their 40s. They're married. They have kids. They work in corporate. Both at some future point want to do their own thing. There are parallels, right? There are common threads between listeners. And so Andre and Richard probably listening right now, but without you knowing, you've both been avatars of the podcast. And follow me, guys. I got dozens of avatars that I have been documenting over the past 2+ years. I'm a marketer. This is what I do. I'm a brand guy. But what I want you guys to pull away from this is you want to begin creating multiple avatars. And how you're going to do this is you're going to begin documenting key demographic details. So some of the things like I mentioned include the age of your avatar. So give your avatar name. If you want, you can even take a picture. This is for your personal use. This is not something you're putting out to the world. So, you could give your avatar, you should give your avatar a name, give him a face, begin to document age, her occupation, his income range, marital status. If they have kids, you want to understand how many kids, what ages are the children. You also want to begin to identify and understand their goals and the things that they value. Probably most important to me, I want to begin over time to understand the stuff that keeps my avatar up at night. So I want to understand the pain points. I want to understand the life hurdles that are truly challenging them the most, that they can't seem to get past. And, the thing with that is that begins to give me intel on the content I can create that's going to have the biggest impact on their lives. If I understand what hurdle Minda or Sean or Annette or Richie are dealing with, and I'm in the middle of interviewing a guest who I know has the answer to help my listener get over that hurdle that they've been stuck at, I'm no longer interviewing that person from Stephen's angle. I'm now my avatar in this interview. And it's happened to me countless times. I can't tell you how many times I've been in that conversation and realized that, this is a great opportunity. And I took advantage. And what ends up happening is, as I'm serving Andre, as I'm serving Annette, as I'm serving Minda, there are countless other people who experience and have and struggle through the same hurdles who I'm also serving. And so understand, I document a couple dozen people, but I'm now serving thousands, right? On a monthly basis, we can have up to 10,000 downloads happening. So there are a lot of people in a lot of countries that I'm serving, but I understand and I have a very clear image of, different people, right? That have different challenges, but together I can pair the likes, the similarities, the opportunities, the challenges, and I can begin to serve those needs, right? The next thing you also want to keep in mind and begin to get a grasp on, you want to understand a variety of content that your avatar is consuming. So give thought to what kind of books and magazines, what kind of podcasts they're consuming. You want to understand the blogs and the websites that they go to on a frequent basis. Even if you can kind of get a framework for the kind of events and conferences and music that they like and concerts they'll attend, what kind of people do they love? What kind of people do they hate? All of this information is valuable. If you're running an existing business, you can do just what I did, right? You can look at some of your existing clients and make them your avatar. Begin to build that out. Don't get creepy and ask them how much money they earn. Don't do that, please. But you can go browse through their social media. I tend to look on Facebook and LinkedIn at my avatar, or if they're on Twitter. You can usually gather enough information to be able to start framing out that avatar and making it meaningful from that point. So once you've gotten through even a half dozen of these, you can begin to look at them and try to align those similarities that we talked about. And you're going to start seeing those common threads, right? The batch of avatars become your audience. And you're now able to begin to see how the two of you connect. So I'm a married Black man. I have 2 kids. I am a believer. Do you think if I began talking about my experiences as a parent, that would have a connection? If I know that my audience, say even 70% of my audience is married, you bet it's going to connect, right? And also, any kind of parallel, right? Any kind of connection point, you want to take advantage of that. And These connection points are what I'm going to define these connection points between you and your audience as the bridge. And the bridge represents the magnet that pulls you and your audience together. And it's what informs how you go about crafting your core message to your audience, right? So now you understand why you absolutely have to know who you are and also know who you're serving, because we need to know those two, right? We need to know who we are. We need to know who we're serving to understand what that core message needs to be to attract your audience to your brand in a way that no one else can and no one else will. And this message is the bridge that connects who you are to who you're wanting to serve. So friends, I hope today's message has served you well. I hope last week and this week's message will inform how you can begin to lay a firm foundation to building your personal brand. And also, I hope it helps you to stand up, to stand out, and to separate yourself from the crowd and the noise. I shared last week, this fall, I'll be launching a first of its kind personal branding course that I've been working on. In this course, I'm going to walk you through all that you need to develop a winning personal brand and a digital footprint. If you want to take what I've shared in this week's episode and last week's episode, I am positive that you have enough to do damage with these two episodes. But here's something to keep in mind. I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, both as an entrepreneur and just as a hobbyist who loves marketing and branding over the past 10, 15 years, between courses, education, and just hard knock failures, right? And so I know with certainty I can help and will help you to avoid some of the potholes that you will experience trying to go it alone. Even in the recent and more relevant future, the relevant past, I should say, I've been doing the work day to day for myself, for the podcast, and for several clients. Now, if I did this as a service for you, this is a service that I can price anywhere between $2,000 to $5,000 to get all of this done. It's a lot of work, and that's truly not expensive in today's world of when you factor in the cost of web developers, graphic designers, videographers. Those guys get expensive. I have a team that I've worked with for several years in addition to myself. So it's not just me, but that's something you're interested in. Please reach out. I don't do a great deal of services anymore because I'm so busy managing a family, managing a growing podcast, and my other commitments, right? I still have a full-time job. So what I have realized though is that, through working through my mission, right? I've seen that there are a lot of you who don't have that kind of coin. You're willing and able to do some of the work yourself, and you just really need my guidance. And the truth is, I want to help you. But again, I can't do one-on-one and provide that service to hundreds or thousands of people. So what I've done is I've created a new course that's been taking shape over the past year and a half. I'm still a couple months from us opening the doors. But when I do, I am only taking in about 50 people in the first class. And so that space is going to go really, really quick, because that's limited space, right? But I'm going to offer this program at a really, really attractive price point. And for the first 6 weeks, you are going to have me there with you to help guide you through the work. You'll have access to the course for a lifetime. And even with the wisdom I'm going to share, the mission fuel I'm going to pour out, actionable advice I'm going to give, the lifetime access you're going to have to a community of other trailblazers from our community, the access to all my tools and hacks and even my custom themes and action plan and all that goodness, I'm still going to make this available at an unbelievable price point. And I have to tell you, I'm saying that out loud and I'm going to get into a debate. I've been having huge debates with some of my closest peers and colleagues. They've seen me building this program and they've fought with me that, I should not charge less than a couple grand for the course and the entire offering because of all that I'm putting into it. But I'm going to tell you that I'm not even going to charge $1,000 for this course. So it's going to be amazing value. I mean, high value offer. And I'm going to open the doors in late September, early October for an early enrollment. If you want to be notified of when this early enrollment happens, I want you to do this. Hop on over to stephenahart.com/brandu. stephenahart.com/brandu. I want you to put your name and email on that notification list. I'm going to send you a priority notification email ahead of the public launch. And if you're on that notification list, this is our list just for my Trailblazer audience. You're going to get discounted priority Trailblazer access to the course when it goes live. Again, this is going to be lifetime access. Believe me, you're going to have to put in the work, right? You're going to have to put in some work. But if you do, I'm going to make sure that you get tremendous value out of this program by the time we get done. Again, if you're interested, please sign up today over at stephenahart.com/brandu and put your name and email on our priority notification list. Stephen is stephenahart.com/brandu. Listen up, Blazer Nation. I love you guys. This work is not about the money. If it were, I'd charge $2,000 per head with my eyes closed and target that smaller number of attendees in the course. No problem. But this is about a mission. My MVP says I'm going to help 1 million people to develop an amazing personal brand and digital footprint. If I'm going to help that many people, I know it has to be at an affordable price point. So this is mission work. So that's my rant about the program. That's it for today. I hope you guys go out and make it a blessed and profitable week. You guys, do me a favor, share this mission field with somebody today. I hope that if you found value in today's episode, share this up on your social, share it up on your IG stories, Facebook stories, and connect with me. I'd love to hear what you enjoyed most about today's episode. God bless. Well, that's it for today. Thanks again for listening to this episode of the Trailblazers podcast. I'll be posting links to all of today's book recommendations and links mentioned on our show notes page at tbpod.com. If today was your first time listening to the Trailblazers podcast, I just want to extend a warm Trailblazers welcome to you. We're so happy to have you here, and we encourage you to go ahead and hit that subscribe button in your favorite podcast app. Go ahead and browse through some of our past episodes to keep the knowledge flowing. If you're a fan of the podcast and today's content, and you're maybe already subscribed to the podcast, please continue to share and invite your friends, your family, your colleagues to listen to an episode that you think might impact them most. We believe that someone listening to these inspiring stories will be moved to make significant changes that will have generational impact for many others, both now and well into the future. Don't miss next week's episode. New episodes are released each and every Monday by about 5 a.m. Eastern. Trailblazers, jump off this podcast today. Go find a way to rise above, go way beyond, and keep blazing your trail. Cheers.